Welcome to the Content Amplified podcast, brought to you by Masset. Our goal is to help you get more from your marketing content. Each episode is a 10 to 15 minute interview with industry experts that share amazing insights to help you squeeze as much juice from your content as you possibly can. Here's today's interview.
Welcome back to another episode of Content Amplified. This podcast is all about how to get more out of your content. Today, I am joined by Emily. Emily, welcome to the show. Thank you so much for being here.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. I'm super excited to be on this.
I love it. Before we dive into the subject, which is super fascinating today, maybe give us a little context about who you are and a little bit more about yourself.
Yeah, so I'm Emily McCauley. I have a degree in digital marketing from Utah Valley University. I've kind of worked in the past doing social media marketing, as well as like social media and PR at a software company. I currently work at another software company called Skipio, which is a conversational text messaging platform. It's where we help businesses automate and connect faster with leads and customers, and then help them start personalized conversations. I'm the content marketer there, and I do blog writing, social media, email marketing, all that stuff, and as well as I do freelance social media management. So I'm like constantly surrounded by content all the time.
I love it. That's awesome. Today, Emily has an awesome subject that she's going to cover that I'm super excited about. I think this is something that everyone knows they need to do, and everyone tries to do it to some degree. There's a lot of technologies for this, but it's an element where we can all improve because no matter how many people we're talking to, people care about us talking to them in a personal nature and addressing their specific needs. And I think as marketers, the technology has kind of come to the point where that's an expectation. That's not a nice to have, but a must have. So Emily has 4 specific points today on how to do better with personalizing your content. So Emily, what is point number 1? Let's get this going and kind of share some of these tips. Excited to hear from you.
Yeah, so the first tip is segmenting your audience. Um, to do anything with personalizing content, you really have to know who your audience is. It's really the foundation of personalization. And to really understand your audience or your customers, you have to have customer data and insights. Conduct customer surveys, have one on one conversations, and really get to know their pain points, interests, and preferences inside and out.
I love it.
Yeah,
And I think
yeah.
with that point, what's really cool, and we've talked on it, in a couple podcasts, but the more people in your company that are your target audience, the better. And so as you consult with these people and talk to these people, it gives you better insights on how to segment if you actually have your target audience working for you. So I think
Mhm.
that there's some interesting insights there, but absolutely segmentation is a huge factor.
Yeah, and once you kind of know your audience and you have them segmented out, you need to think about the type of language that you're using, not just in the specific content pieces, but in your messaging. This can be whether in its emails, your ads. Adjust your tone, your vocabulary, and style to really match those preferences. For instance, if you're targeting, let's say, like a tech savvy audience, you could use industry jargon. But if your audience is less technical, really keep it simple and relatable. And then with that content, really make sure it's valuable and relevant. If it's not valuable and relevant, it doesn't matter what you're putting out because no one's going to care. Focusing
Uh,
on clearly communicating that benefit really helps.
I love it. Yeah. I've, to your earlier point, I've been on websites before and I'm a fairly technical person and they were specifically for IT professionals. And I would be on their homepage and they used all sorts of acronyms and all sorts of terminology. I had zero clue what they were talking about. And I was actually so proud of this company because I knew that they were basically telling me in a polite way, if you don't know what I'm talking about, you have no reason to be on my website. And I think that's a great thing. And I think for people that know those acronyms, they're like, oh, I feel at home. Yet clearly I'm in your ICP. I'm clearly in your audience. And so I love that point because I think that for some people, it's the quickest way to say, yep, this is for me. Let me continue forward. It's like that first, the bounce kind of idea. If you're on a website and you bounce really quick, That kind of ICP, specific language can really help the stickiness factor when it comes to your content.
Yeah, for sure. Um, and then just going on with the third tip, is really use your customer insights. Um, when you segment your audience, you will get insights for each of those segments. And like I said before, you can conduct those surveys or talk to customers and really get to know them, but then you need to use that information because different segments prefer to be marketed for different items in different ways. So, like demographics, interests, purchase behavior, even engagement level on social media, that those are stuff to pay attention to. On other relevant criteria, um, be looking for those and really put that into your content and think about it when creating that messaging.
I love it. Yep, spot on.
Yeah. And then another huge thing, this is probably tip number 4. I love dynamic fields. If you're not using dynamic fields, you need to start using dynamic fields. I believe most CMS platforms offer built in features. Um, they allow you to insert individual customer data into messages automatically. You can easily address recipients by name, include personalized product recommendations based on previous purchases without having to add it in for each person individually. So it's a way to take your content that maybe you've mass generalized before and make it a little bit more personalized.
I
To really
love it.
take advantage of these simple capabilities that a lot of you may have and use it to make your audience feel seen and heard.
Yeah, it sounds like there's almost a couple levels of personalization you're talking about. Obviously,
Yeah.
understanding your target audience and creating content that speaks specifically to them. And then going beyond that and potentially on an individual level, being
Hmm.
able to specify elements inside the content using dynamic fields, using their name, using information specific to them, that is dynamically generated, I think is really, really powerful. What are some of your favorite data points that you've liked to collect about your customers that you've found to be really, really helpful inside the dynamic fields? The points where people feel, oh, you get me, things like that. Obviously, there's name and a few things like that. Are there any specific other points that people should keep an eye out for of like, hey, if you can understand this information, you can do some really cool stuff in dynamic fields?
Yeah, for sure. Definitely always start out with a name, but name is like the bare minimum. Um, Another great point is if you're keeping maybe notes on previous interactions with those customers, and this is for like really, really personalized stuff. If you maybe it's a one-on-one conversations, feel free to like reference back to those, so they know that there's not a bot responding back to them or this email wasn't mass generalized. It can have reference things that you've talked about in the past. And I've seen that where in like marketing text messages, that really goes above and beyond, and that customer appreciates you remembering stuff that you've talked about, or maybe questions that they've had in the past.
I love that. And with any relationship, which is really what it is with marketing and sales and these prospects, usually a little bit of history is needed before someone feels comfortable taking the next steps. So
Mhm.
remembering those points and allowing the relationship to be strong enough that people feel comfortable to take the next steps, whether that's seeing a demo, it's making a purchase, starting a trial, whatever it may be, that makes a lot of sense in the process. So, with what you do at Skipio, I imagine you have personalization tools built into your system and there's opportunities inside of that system. How has working for a business that is developing these kinds of products helped you kind of understand some more on the content personalization side? I know that, I've seen your website. There's some really cool statistics and all sorts of cool stuff. How has that helped your understanding and what have you seen firsthand to be really, really productive in that space?
Yeah, I think right now AI is super big and it's really great to use AI and we do like automate messages and stuff, but it's really the point of automating a connection so then you can personalize the messaging afterwards and the content afterwards. So being able to see that and see that when you're creating content that is addressing these needs and building a connection it drives growth. Connection drives growth, and that's all what personalization is. And so it's interesting to go from other software companies and seeing it being, more B2B and not business to human, because we're really just marketing to humans. Um, that difference that it makes in how customers interact with your business. Like people interact with us like we're actually people and talk to us in a different way where it's easier to get to know them and then turn it around and sell back to them.
Yeah, I love that. That's great. Well, Emily, thank you for these 4 tips on how to improve our personalization and content. If anyone wants to send you a personal message and connect with you online, how could they do that? How can they connect with you? What are the best platforms to reach out on?
Yeah, you can find me on LinkedIn. It's just Emily McCauley, and that would probably be the best place to reach me.
Very cool. We'll make sure and link to your profile in the show notes as well, so you don't have to search through other Emily's on the platform. Thank you so much, Emily. Really appreciate it. Have a great day.
Yeah, thanks so much for having me. See ya.
Thank you for listening to the Content Amplified podcast. Please subscribe and leave us a review. And for additional ways to get more out of your content, visit our website at getmasset.com. That's getmasset.com. And tune in next time to the Content Amplified podcast.